If you want to save hours of your life and your time at work, I'm about to show you what I think is the most life-saving spreadsheet formula out there. Are you ready? This may just blow your mind. Are you ready? All right, let's go. Hi, my name is Dr. Dan Kreiness. I'm a digital learning coach and host of the Leader of Learning podcast. I've been using this particular spreadsheet formula for a couple of years now, and it has really saved me a lot of time, especially because I'm someone who loves to stay really organized, digitally speaking, when it comes to how I manage my files, or in this case, how I manage my data. It's not that difficult to set up, so I want to walk you through some easy steps to make your life a lot easier. All right, so while life-saving is maybe a bit of an exaggeration, I really do think that this formula that I'm about to show you could save a lot of time. I still mean it, and I really think that it's such a valuable formula for you to use if you have a spreadsheet like this. The formula is called the filter formula, and I'll just show you an example of what it does. So if I have a spreadsheet here with staff members, I have 5 staff members, and their last names are Jordan, James, Johnson, Bird, and Bryant. And basically, I've created this spreadsheet as an example to show you what it might look like as I track information about times that I meet with those staff members. So you have a column for meeting dates, the focus of our meetings, and then possible next steps to take between then and the next meeting. What the filter formula does is it takes some of this information and it then breaks it out into individual sheets that you see at the bottom of the screen. I like to call them tabs. So if you hear me saying the word tab, that basically is an interchangeable term that I like to use for sheets. In order to set this up, we're going to go through a few very easy steps. Step number 1 really is just making sure that your data sheet is set. So just inputting the data really begins at step 1. Down here, you can see I've called it my master sheet, just so that I can remember that that's my main sheet where all of the data on my spreadsheet lives. The next step, which actually I've done already, but I want to show you how, is to create individual sheets for whatever information you want to break out further from this master sheet. In my case, what I'd like to do is to separate the data out by the last name of the staff member. That's why I have sheets or tabs down here for Jordan, James, Johnson, Bird, and Bryant. In order to create each of these sheets down below, there's a plus sign here, and when you hover over it, it says New Sheet. When you click it, it automatically creates a new sheet, and it creates it just to the right of the one that you already had selected. So I was selecting the master sheet, I clicked the plus sign, and now I have another sheet right next to it. But right now it's called Sheet 8. In order to rename it, like in my case, I've renamed the last names of the staff members. You just right click on the sheet name, select rename, and then just rename it whatever you want. Once you hit enter or click out of it, then that name is locked in and you're good to go. If you'd like to move the sheets or the tabs around, just click and hold and then drag it to wherever you see that black arrow pointing. And then release, and that's where your tab will go. For now, I don't really need that one. I'm going to go ahead and delete it, but that's the process for creating new sheets and then renaming them. The next step that I like to take in this process is to take the header line or the top row from the master sheet and put it into the individual sheets. You can see that right now I'm clicked into the Jordan sheet and there's nothing in it at all, and that's fine. But what I like to do is to come to the master sheet, copy the top row, then paste it in to each additional sheet. I've already done it for the rest of these, but that's the process of just going to the master sheet and then copying that top row into each additional sheet. What this does is it'll allow you to see the data just as it is in the master sheet and to be able to actually identify the data that's showing up in each column. Now for the good stuff. The next step is where we get to create our filter formula. It might seem a little tricky to you, but I'm going to make it as easy as possible. When we are in each of the additional tabs that we've created, and again, in this case, for this example, they're the last names of our staff members, I like to select the uppermost left cell under the header row, and we're going to come to the formula bar, which is next to where you see the letters FX. It says insert function, and we're just going to create one from scratch by first clicking the equal sign. As we start to type in the word filter, we see it shows up highlighted in green. I'm going to select filter. That's the start of our formula. And you can see here, once I've done that, in bold or blue, it says the next step is it's asking for an array. The array is how to choose from the entire data set to pull information from. So because my data set lives on that master sheet, I'm going to go back to the master sheet and highlight all of the data that we want to pull from. So now my filter shows up as having an array, but I also want to include a certain piece of information. So I add a comma, space, and now the word include is lit up. Because I want to include the information about my staff members' names, now I'm going to highlight all of the information in the staff member column. And now we have included that column with the last names of our staff members. The last thing we want to do is identify which specific information we want to pull. And because we want to pull each of the last names, I'm going to add the equal sign again. And in parentheses, I'm going to type the last name, close parentheses, close the quotation marks, then close the parentheses, and then we're going to hit enter. Now, as you see, we're in the Jordan sheet, and it has automatically populated information on this sheet based on every case that it found the last name Jordan on the master sheet. What I like to do at this point to make it easier to see the information is I select one row, and as I drag over, as you hover your mouse right in between the columns, it kind of takes the cursor from just a down arrow to sort of this, I like to call it an intersection. And then what you can do is double click, and it will make your columns as wide as the information that's in them. So now we've created that filter formula for this sheet Jordan, meaning anytime that on the master sheet it sees the last name Jordan, it's automatically going to put that information into the Jordan sheet. Now we're almost done, but of course we'd like to do this for the rest of our staff members as well. You could actually go back and create that entire formula up again in the formula bar. But I think what's easiest is to actually take the whole thing, copy it, paste it into our next sheet, and then instead of using the last name Jordan, this time we want to make sure, that we're on the James tab. We're going to paste in the formula for Jordan, but we want this to now say James. So it's the same formula, except we want it to isolate the name James. So I just changed Jordan to James. And now when I hit enter, there you go. It pulls in all the information on
the last name James. I'm going to do the same thing for these last few sheets, and we'll be right back with you. All right, so my filter formula is now set up in every sheet that I've created to represent each of the staff members. Again, we have a master sheet, and anytime now that I click into one of the other sheets for each staff member, any information that we've entered into the master sheet with each of their last names is now on each of these tabs at the bottom. In other words, basically, anytime that I now enter a meeting with each of these staff members, new information that comes into the master sheet will automatically be set up to get filtered into each of these individual sheets. Let me just explain how I like to use this filter formula. For me as an educator and as someone who supports teachers, I use this often to separate out meetings that I have with the teachers whom I support. Anytime I meet with a teacher or I visit their classroom, I enter information into a form that then gets put into a spreadsheet like this. And I set up tabs for all teachers that I work with. And anytime I enter new information for them, it recognizes their last name and it automatically populates information into the tabs. Another way is I help manage the inventory of student devices in my school. We use Chromebooks, and so on that master spreadsheet of the Chromebook inventory, I have it organized by homeroom teacher. And each homeroom teacher probably has somewhere on average between 15 to 25 students in their homeroom. What I like to do is create tabs on the bottom of the spreadsheet for each homeroom teacher. And that way, if I need to find information, I can just easily look at each homeroom teacher's tab. So as I mentioned earlier, what's really great about this filter formula as well as a general spreadsheet formula is that although I've been showing it to you in Microsoft Excel, it can work in other spreadsheet platforms as well, just like Google Sheets. I know a lot of people are into the Google ecosphere and they use a lot of the Google apps like Docs and Sheets and Slides. So if you prefer doing it that way and creating a spreadsheet in Google Sheets, it's just as easy and really the same process as doing it in Microsoft Excel. So I've already gone ahead and created my sheet to look just like I had it in Excel, where I have a master sheet that's broken down by each staff member, the meeting date, focus, and next steps. And then I have each staff member in their own tab or sheet at the bottom. So just like we did before, we're going to start to create our filter formula. So we click equal sign, filter, go back to the master sheet and select the entire data set. Then we hit our comma. And now remember, we want to actually include which column has the data for our last names. Then we want to type the equal sign with quotations, select the last name that we want to use, close the parentheses, and then there you go. We've done the same thing that we did in Excel, but this time we're in Google Sheets. And just like we did before, we can copy that entire formula, go to the next tab, paste it in. And here, all we need to do is change the last name. So I will type in James, hit enter, and now we have taken the information automatically from our master sheet, populated it onto each additional tab that we've created for each of our staff members.
All right, now that you've seen the filter formula in action, I would love to know how you've been using it, if this is something that you've used already in your life and in your work. If not, if you're ready to get started with it and you know how you're going to use it, then please let me know in the comments if you got value from this video and how you plan on using this formula moving forward. As always, I would love if you would subscribe to this channel if you're not already. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That way, more people might be able to find out about me and the great content that I put out on this channel. Otherwise, you can check out more of my videos here. And until next time, we'll see you.